Good morning, PT on Ice crew. This is Dr. Sarah Heron coming at you from Seattle, Washington. I will be your host today on the PT on Ice Daily Show, and today is Leadership Thursday. Before we get started, a couple announcements. If you haven't been signed up for the Hump Day Hustling email, we need to make sure that you're on that mailing list. So go ahead and head to ptonice.com and then scroll all the way to the bottom and sign up for HDH Hump Day Hustling. It's a series of weekly emails where you're going to get all this kind of cool content, including our schedule for courses. So a couple upcoming courses. There's some great live courses coming in October 24th through 25th. We've got Total Spine Thrust Manipulation in Virginia, in Richmond. And in that same weekend, we have Fitness Athlete Live in Denver. And then Halloween weekend, October 31st through November 1st, we've got Lumbar Management in Orlando. So if you feel safe to travel and you feel up for some learning, those are upcoming on your calendar. There's also some online courses coming up at the end of this month. We've got Modern Management of the Older Adult, the Essential Foundations course. That's starting on October 28th. And then on November 9th, we've got Fitness Athlete Essential Foundations. I am an instructor for the PT Practice Ownership Division of this company, and that is where we talk about all things business. So today we're going to talk about how to stop convincing your patients to go out of network and instead how to start actually selling to them. Feel free to respond in the comments. I'd love to live check what everybody has to say about this. Otherwise, I'd love to keep this conversation going after today, because this has been a hot topic in our course, and it's been a hot topic in the out-of-network scene in general, or in the cash pay scene in general. So what are we talking about? We are talking about wanting to get better at sales, right? So how do we get these patients in the door? How do we get them to understand that our practice is right for them? And what we're seeing is that our students are wanting a script. Our practitioners who are out on their own, who are starting their own new practice, particularly when they're going out into a cash-based setting, they're wanting a script or strategies to sort of convince that patient that going out of network or using cash instead of insurance is the better option for them. They also are wanting to know how to convert a phone call into an email, or into an eval, So how do we do that stuff? And what we see is that folks are focusing on these sort of topics of, like, I'm going to give you one-on-one care. I'm going to offer you a whole hour of physical therapy without the use of aids. Insurance isn't going to work for you because it's actually going to be more expensive in the end. So what I'm hoping this conversation leads to is an understanding that the sale of our practice, the sale of what we have to offer as physical therapists, should be happening before we have this payment conversation and this conversation about money or insurance. In fact, it should be happening even before they've called to ask for an appointment. Okay, so why? Well, the truth is, if you've been in this world of cash pay, you will know that patients actually would rather use their insurance in most cases. Many people still do have great benefits, and even if they don't have great benefits, they know that they have insurance, and they know that that insurance is supposed to pay for their coverage. So when we start talking to them about why insurance isn't useful, or it's not as cost effective, we've sort of missed the boat in many cases, and we've already lost them. So we want this conversation about money. We want this conversation about insurance coverage to be transparent. We want it to be educational, but we don't want it to be our sales pitch. So we don't want patients to come to see us because we're offering a lower price, right? We want them to come see us because of what we offer, and because they've already figured that out. They already know that we're the right provider for them. So I own Aero Physical Therapy in Seattle, and 9 times out of 10, our patients are not asking us about insurance. Now, that does happen, and we do need to have that conversation before the patient comes in the door if they haven't brought it up already, because we need to let them know that indeed we're not going to be billing your insurance directly. However, they are calling us because they want to come to our practice for a particular specialty or because they want to see a particular provider. And usually that is because of word of mouth referrals, Google, we have a lot of Google reviews. There's a lot of reasons why this patient has figured out or been told that this is the right practice for them and that this will be the right experience for them. After they figure that out, then they can decide if the price feels right to them. Okay, so again, what we're seeing is that there's a script being offered by physical therapists that is basically saying an out-of-network model is better for the patient. And it might be. It is sometimes, right? But does the patient need to be sold on that? That's the question today. So when we see that in social media or on websites, what we're seeing mostly is instead of opening up with advertising who you are and what you're all about and how you can help this patient, we see a list of reasons why insurance is less effective or less cost effective, right? So we see that reimbursement rates are going up. And we see that one-on-one time spent with the patient is going down, right? We see that the quality of care is decreasing. And we see these lists that just keep going. And then on the flip side of that list, what this person can offer. So I'm going to offer one-on-one care for an hour. You're going to see a DPT. And I offer all of these services like dry needling and Graston technique. And I'm going to get you back to your highest level of function. And that's all true. And that's all awesome. And that's all worth the price, right? But those reasons don't resonate with a patient usually, right? So patients actually don't even know what you're talking about sometimes. They just know that their friend said, hey, you should go see Sarah because she treats hip impingement and she got me better and she's really cool. Cool. So then that patient calls and they're like, I've been told I need to see you. And I don't need to start the conversation by saying, yes, you do, because insurance sucks. So I don't mean to be so flippant, but in our course, this is not unique to our students that we see this script coming in. We see this constantly all over the internet, all over social media, and we see that this is the sales pitch that's actually being pushed and promoted. And we want to change that because we want folks to have actually a little more confidence in who you are as a practitioner and what your business is all about to be able to sell that to your patient. Okay, so when we focus on one-on-one for an hour, not restricted by insurance regulations, high deductibles, it'll save you money, all of these arguments are coming from a place of, like, I would say insecurity, right? Or misunderstanding of the situation. So what are these arguments? What are our, like, misconceptions that we're usually thinking of? So we think patients can't afford it, maybe. We think that patients don't want to pay. Okay? We're making these assumptions. We think that patients would rather use their insurance, which I would argue in some cases is true. You want to defend the model that you chose because you feel kind of weird about it, right? And I know I struggled with that when I first started my company. Maybe you've actually gotten pushback, right? Maybe you've actually gotten objection from patients. Maybe other practitioners have told you that that model isn't going to work, or it's not fair, or you're only going to be treating rich people, right? And so you feel really defensive about it because you know that that's not true, and you know why you want to offer this to your patients. Maybe you know all these reasons of, like, it is better for the patient, but that's the sale to yourself. Okay, this strategy of having to convince the patient all the time and like pushing back at objections that you don't even know if they have or not is really to help ourselves, right? So if you are actually having a lot of conversations with your patient about money and arguing with them about why they should come in, and even like pushing the sale and trying to close that sale over and over, I've heard strategies such as ask 3 times. Make sure that you ask 3 times. Don't give up. Well, that kind of bullying, I would be very turned off as a consumer, and I would certainly not be interested in your product. So again, if you're having these conversations and you're arguing and stuff, they're probably not the right patient for you, right? Or you missed a step earlier in the process. Okay, so the sale usually is more effectively going to come from specializing, marketing what you do, right? What you actually do, and letting patients know why you're the right provider for them. So what do you actually do, right? So do you, like, I'll give my own examples. I treat CrossFit, and I am a CrossFitter, and I am a CrossFit coach. So I don't need to even really talk about insurance or my payment model, because I can already let those patients know that I'm the right provider for them. And similarly, in my social media and in my marketing, I'm going to use pictures of my athletes, pictures of myself, pictures of drills that are going to help my CrossFit athletes, right? And I don't ever really talk about why we don't take insurance. Now, I will say this, I used to. And it's taken me a long time to figure this out and to learn this, because there's a lot of peer pressure out there to use those sort of strategies to get your patients in the door to close that sale, right? But I've never found it to be effective. And I currently now in my established practice don't have those conversations until I bring it up to make sure that the patient comes in and knows that I don't want them to expect to be using their insurance. And then sometimes they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, tell me more. And then we can have this conversation. And then I can bring up, well, actually, like, depending on your insurance, let's see what do you have an HSA? Like, all of these things that we can ask them and educate them on. But we don't need to open with that. That's not why the patient is going to see you. They're not going to see you because you're out of network. Okay? They want to see you because you offer what they want. But perhaps you offer that because you're out of network. That's your why, right? Okay, somebody's made a comment here. As a student, I'm super appreciative of this talk. These are the arguments I've seen time and again online, and it makes so much sense to flip the healthcare model. Yes. So let's talk about peer pressure for a second. There's so much pressure to be like everybody else. And in business, when we're starting our own practice, it's so hard to see what everybody else is doing online. And again, we talk about this a lot in the course. Like, if someone else is putting up a research blip, let's say like a, what's it called on social media? The Daily Story or whatever, about low back pain and research in low back pain. Right, then suddenly you feel like, I need to do that because my patients need to know that too, or I need to look as good as this physical therapist does. So I'm now comparing my strategies. And if somebody else out there that you follow, not that your patient follows, but that you follow, starts to post stuff about why out of network is better for the patient and why it saves them money, you're going to feel tempted to do that. Right? And it's going to feel like if you don't do that, you might be missing out on these opportunities. And if your schedule isn't full yet, then you're like, oh, this is why I need to sell this model. We want to argue, and we want to continue to work on this strategy in our courses, that this takes time. It takes time to build your quality practice, and it takes time to get to a sustainable, organic level of growth that's going to like offer you all of those true fans. What I mean by that is, like, you can sell this model. You can talk your patient down and get them to commit to an eval. You can bully them into it, and maybe they'll stay, and maybe they'll just do that one visit, and that's it. Now, the argument is that you would win them over, right, in that first eval. But if they already are feeling like they don't know why they're coming to see you other than that they're going to save money, which they don't feel like they're doing because they're paying you, if that's it, then you probably missed a step. Right? So you want to convince them before that you're right for them. I hope that you can kind of reflect on that today and take a peek at your social media and take a peek at your sales strategy and think about how we can stop convincing patients that this is the right model for them and instead sell our practice. So we're not selling our payment model, we're selling our practice and who we are and why we're right for that patient. I hope that helps. I'd love to hear what everybody thinks about that, and we will be continuing these conversations more and more. The next cohort for this division is in January, so you'll have to wait a little bit, but we will be excited to see you then. And we just kicked off our current cohort, and they are just going to kick ass. All right, everybody, have a good Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you on the flip side. Let's end.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.